forget to smash the like button and share this video with as many people as you can. And if you're not subscribed to my channel yet, please kindly do it so that you don't miss any of my videos. So without any delay, let's get started. And today we are gonna learn about arrays in C. So today we are gonna learn about arrays in C. This is gonna be so interesting. So without any delay, let's get started. Damn! So first of all, what is an array? An array is a single variable. So it is a single variable which stores multiple different values of the same type. So in an array, with a single variable, you can have multiple different values of the same type. The individual values are accessed by indexing the array. So there are something called indexes. So through them you can access the individual values in an array. An array can have one or more dimensions. So let's see what dimensions means. A one-dimensional array is a single list of values. So a one-dimensional array is a list of values of integer values or of any data type values. So one-dimensional array is a single list of values. So in one-dimensional array you have that is a single list of a lot of values, while a two-dimensional array is a list of lists of values and so on. So a two-dimensional array is a list in which you will have lists, right? And in those lists there will be values. So a two-dimensional array is a list in which you will have lists in which you will have values. So a two-dimensional array may look like this, and then one like this, one something like this. Okay, so you have an array. Inside that you have another array, other arrays, and in those you have values, right? So that is a two-dimensional array, right? So an array is declared in C by putting the size of each dimension in square brackets after the variable name, right? So int, we declare an array. First we give the data type over here, what data type value should be there in an array. Then we give the variable name, and then in square brackets we give how many items will be there in our array, right? What should be the size of our array. So we are given 10, so there will be 10 items in our array, right? Yeah, so this is a list of 10 integers, right? So this is a list of 10 integers, and this over here, when we are giving int, then we are giving the variable name, then we are giving 5 in square brackets, and after that we are giving 6 in square brackets. What is happening? It is saying that this is a B array, right? In this there will be 5 items and there will be 5 arrays in this. So over here this is a two-dimensional array. So this is saying in variable B is an array in which we will have 5 arrays, in which in the sub arrays we will have 6 integer type values. Okay, so this line is saying that. So this is a list of 5 lists, each of which contains 6 integers. Quite cool. When accessing the elements inside an array, the array index, the number inside the bracket, starts at 0. So when you are accessing the element, like you want to access the first element, so you will access it by referring to the array index. So the first element in your array has the index of 0. So when you want to access the first element, you will access it by 0. If you want to access the second element, you will access it by 1. If you want to access the third element, you will access like 2, right? Using the index 2 and so on. So when accessing the elements inside an array, the array index, the number inside the brackets, start at 0. So the 10 integers contained within array A above are referred to as A0. So like the 10 integers, contained within the array A. So this array, within this array A above are referred to as A0. So when we want to access the first element, we will do A0. We want to access the second element, we'll write A1. We want to access the third element, we'll write A2, and so on up to A9. The compiler will quite because the length is 10, so we can only access till the index 9, because the indexes start with 0, right? So we can only we can't only access till index 9. The compiler will quite happily allow you to read or write A10, A11, or indeed any number you like, but these are all outside the memory. So these elements are now not in the array. These are all outside the memory, kept in the memory as some there will be some values in the memory. So when you try to access some values out of the array, you most of the time will get junk stuff, or unusual, unexpected, unwanted stuff, right? So which was allocated when the array was so right so the compiler will quite happily allow you to read or write A10, A11, or indeed any number you like, but these are all outside the memory which was allocated when the array was declared. So writing to them is a really bad idea. Writing to them is a very bad idea, but when you are reading them, then you will most probably get some type of junk or unwanted values, right? Okay, so now we know what exactly arrays are. Now we'll see what is the relation between arrays and pointers. So if you don't know about pointers yet, do check out my pointers video in C, so that you get a clear understanding of what they are. So now let's see the relation of arrays and pointers. The name of an array is effectively a pointer to the first element of the array. So when you access the name of an array, so logically so the name of the array, right? So the name of your array is a pointer to the first element of the array, right? So the name of the array is logically the first element of your array. So over here we have an example where we are including stdio.h. We have int main, so this will return an integer data type value. We are returning 0, right? And in this we have we are creating an array A that will contain 10 integer data type values. Then we have an integer count variable that will be of data type integer. We are using a for loop for count equals 0, count less than 10, count plus plus. This will loop 10 times, and the indentation is not quite correct. Now it is. And what we are doing, we are just doing a count. So whatever the basically count is behaving like an index, right? So a count, first of all will be a0, a1. So we are accessing the for the first time in the loop, we are accessing the first element of the array, right? That has no value right now, but we are setting a value of our first element now. That will be count, whatever the value of count is, into 10. So first of all it is 0, so 0 into 10 is 0 plus 0, right? So that 0 will be the first value of our first element. So second time the count will be 1, so a count. So a1 will be our second element in the array. So second element in the array equals to count into 10. So 1 into 10, that is 10, plus count, that is 1. So 10 plus 1, 11, and the second element have the value will have the value 11. Then it will go back, it will set count to 2. It will go to access the third element, the second index, the third element, and its value will be 2 count into 10. So 2 into 10, that will be 20, plus count. So count's value is 2, so 20 plus 2, 22. So the third element will be 22, and so on. It will do this stuff 10 times. So the last value will be 99, right? So print after the loop we are printing the first and the second elements of a, or %d and %d. So we are replacing %d and %d by a0. So we are accessing our arrays full first element, right? So we are accessing our arrays first element, right? So we are accessing our arrays first element through the 0th index, that will be 0 as we discussed, and a1, so the second element using the first index, so a1 will be 11, right? So we saw that how. So over here it will print the first and the second elements of a are 0 and 11, and then it will print or as pointers. So if we want to access the values as pointers, we can do it by star. We knew that a is a pointer to our first element in our array. So now the name of our array, is a pointer to the first element of it, right? So pointer contains the memory address. So a is basically the memory address, contains the memory address of its first element, where its first element is saved. So we can dereference it and we will get the first element's value. So that will be coming over here, first element's value. And because we have seen that arrays are a continuous arrays are basically a continuous list, right? So arrays are basically a continuous list. So if in the memory address we add 1, if we add 1 in the memory address, that means we will just get the next memory location to our, basically when we add 1 to our memory address, then we'll get the next memory location to whatever was our 0th element, right? So if we add 1 in our memory address, we'll get the next memory location. So we'll get the next memory location. Sorry about the barking of dogs if you can hear it. So when we add 1 to the memory location of our 0th element, then because it is a continuous list, so that's why it will go to the next element's memory location, because the next element is just after. So it will go to the first element, right? Because first element, right? So because our it is a continuous list. So if we have our first element's memory address, then if we add 1 to it, so just after that first element's memory address, we will have a second element. So that second element's memory address we will have, and then we can dereference it using the star symbol. So we will get our second value, that will be 11. So working with pointers is so cool, guys, right? With arrays, pointers are just outstanding. So we'll get the same values both the ways, right? So with a 2 or more dimensional array, you need to consider how the compiler arranges the dimensions in memory. So we just need to consider how basically the compiler arranges the dimensions in memory. It does so by grouping the elements at the rightmost index of the array together, right? So it does so by grouping the elements at the rightmost index of the array together, right? So with array, like let's see it by an example what it is about trying to say. So with the array b56 so over here this is defining this is defining that we have a b array that will contain 5 elements. Those 5 elements will themselves be arrays, right? And each array in our b array um, each array in our B array will contain 6 values, right? So this is saying that, and B itself points at B00. So B is pointing at B00, right? So B00, right? When we do B plus 1, B points at B01. So B01 is the first array in our B array, and it's first a second element, right? So B00 is a first array in our B array, and it's 0th element, so it's first element, right? So it's like this, B plus 5. So B is also a memory address to this. B itself is a memory address to this. When we add 1 to the memory address, it will point to B01. if we add 5 to it, it points at B05. So the last element, it will point to the first subarray, its last element from B05, and B plus 6 points at B10. So B or array first element, that is first indexed element, that is the second element and its first item, right? So this is how it basically manages two-dimensional arrays. So you can initialize an array at the same time as you declare it by putting the values in curly brackets. So you can initialize an array at the same time as you declare it by putting the values in curly brackets. So over here we have int, and this is our array a that will contain 10 integer values, and then we are initializing over here. We are adding all the values in this. But note that this only works when the array is first declared. So when we are declaring the array, then only this works. Once it exists in the memory, you can't use this shortcut and will need to iterate through the array indices. So you will need to iterate through the array indices, setting each value in turn. So if you want to change the whole array, like this is your array, you want to set it as another array, then you have to loop through every item, right? So you will need to iterate through the array indices, setting each value in turn, right? Quite cool. Now we are moving on to strings. So in C, a string is just another array. In C, strings are just another array. It's an array of single characters. So it is an array of single characters. It is quite a different array, but it is an array. It is an array of single characters. So a string with 10 characters will be char my string 10. So we are defining it just like an array. We are saying the string is my string. It will contain 10 characters and of char data type, because it can only contain characters as a string. So we have given the char data type. Or to initialize it at the same time. So if you want to initialize it at the same time, we can just give the value to it, right? But it is not that simple. One important thing to remember is that a string in C must always end with a byte set to 0. So this is a very important thing. This string should always end with a byte set to 0, and that the memory required to hold this final 0, called the string terminator, must be allocated one important thing to remember is that a string in C must always end with a byte set to 0, and that the memory required to hold the final 0, called the string terminator, must be allocated when you declare the string. So when you are declaring the string, then only you need to tell that the memory required to hold the final 0, right? And that the memory required to hold the final 0. So the memory that is required to hold the final 0 must be allocated when you declare the string. So when you are declaring the string, then only that memory should be allocated, right? So my string, which is declared as an array of 10 chars, can only actually hold text of 9 or fewer characters. So this can't hold 10 characters. It can only hold 9 or fewer characters, because the last character will be for the number 0. That will be our terminator. That will be our string terminator. That will represent that our string has ended over here. Quite cool stuff, guys. Now we have an example where we are using strings with pointers also. Quite cool. So this is a main method that will return an integer data type value. It is returning 0, and in this we have a string 1. of 10 characters, 9 characters exactly, because the last character will be for a terminator, right? And its value is first. And so basically this program will merge these string 1 and string 2 into another variable, right? Quite cool. So over here we have char string 2, that is that will also contain, that can only contain 9 characters, and the 10th character will be for our 0, that is our string terminator, right? And then we have a string 3 that can contain 20 characters, right? 19 characters in total, and the last character will be for our terminator, right? So our char then we are creating two pointer variables, source and dst, right? So source and dst, right? So we are creating two pointer variables, source and dst, right? And um, um, these can save memory addresses of variables, right? And source equals string 1, so string 1 is just like a string is just like array, so the name of the variable is referring to the memory location of the first character of our string. So this will bring save the memory location of the first character in a string, and right. And string 1 will basically bring the memory address of the first character in our string, right? And that we will save in source. Then dst will be equals to string 3, so string 3 will be bringing the memory location of the first character of string 3, and that will be saved in dst. So over here the indentation is not quite correct. So while our star source is not equals to 0, that the last character of our string, the last character of the last character of a string will be 0. So the last thing that we'll get from a string will be 0. That will be our string terminator, that will be telling us that our string has ended. So when we are checking that if the string is not terminated yet, so in our source we are dereferencing our source, right? And we are doing star source, right? So we're dereferencing our source over here, and we will get characters till we'll get characters till we don't reach till our string terminator. If till we don't reach our string terminator, meaning that our in source we don't get 0, then it will do star dst. So it will change the over here the first element of our string 3, because right now dst is containing the has saved the first element of our string 3. So the first element of a string 3 will be the character that we have in our source, that is right now f, right? So over here it is right now f. So over here um uh, string 3's first character will be f now. Then it will do source plus plus, so it is just like array, so it will go just to the memory location that is beside our first element, and it will do dst plus plus. Dst is also a memory location, so it will go to the next character. Now in dst we will have the memory location of the second character in our string 3, right? So dst will contain the memory location of the second character in our string 3, right? That is the first index, and source will have the value uh, of the second character in our string 1, that is the first index, right? And it will go on again, it will check that if it has reached the terminator. No, it hasn't, it has only reached the second character. Then it will do the same thing, then it will go, it will check if it has reached the terminator. No, it has only reached till the third character. Then it will go and So basically in every loop it is adding to our string 3 also, right? So then it will check that if it has reached the terminator, no, it will add s to our string 3, it will move on. Then it will check if it has reached the terminator, no, it has reached t. Then it will add it to our basically dst string 3, right? So it will add it to our string 3, right? So it will add it to our string 3, and then it will check that if it has reached the terminator, and after t it has reached a terminator, there is nothing after t, so it will come out. Then it will do source equals string 2. So then we need to repeat the same process for string 2. So add all the characters in our dst till we don't reach our terminator, right? And when all are added, so now in not in dst our string 3, because dst just has the memory location, right? So it has only the memory address of our whatever element we are on in string 3, right? But in reality string 3 is getting changed. So in string 3, first will be added because of this loop, and then second will be added because of this loop. And then we are doing star dst equals to 0. So now after adding all of these, on whichever element we are on, we'll set it to 0 and terminate our string. Now we are printing percent %s plus percent %s equals percent %s. So as we know, the variable name brings us the memory address of our first character, right? It brings us the memory address of a first character in the string, right? But because of this percent %s, it will show us the whole string. So string 1, because of percent %s, will show over here a first, and then when we give string 2 percent %s, it will show us second, so it will show us the whole string. And then we give string 3 2 percent %s, so it will show us first second, the merged version, right? So this will show us first second, first plus second equals to first second, right? And I just do think that for such a small task we have achieved, for such a small task we have written a lot of code, but it was very fun understanding this code. Now we'll see how to write to strings. Because the name of a string variable is only a pointer to the first character of the string, you can't just use an equal sign to set the value of a complete string. You can initialize a string variable at the time you declare it as above, but what if you want to set or change it later? There are a few ways to do this, but the most useful is the sprintf function. So the most effective way is the sprintf function. Let's see what this is. Over here we are including stdio. We have done int main void, so this will return 0 over here, and in this we have our integer val equals to 12, and then we have a string of 50 characters, for exactly 49 characters we can save, the last one will be for our terminator. And then what we are doing sprintf, and we have to pass it a string where we want which string we want to replace, and then we pass it what string should we replace it by. And we have written the value of val is %d, so we need to replace %d, right? So we will replace it by val. So string's value will be the value of val is 12, and then we will print %s string. So because we have to use %s, because %s will when it gets string, string is basically referring to the first elements. String basically is a pointer to our first element in string, right? So when we give it to %s, when we give string to %s, then it will show us the whole string. So that will be the value of val is 12. So we will on the screen will get the value of val is 12. So the value of val is 12. And this was it guys for this video. I hope you liked the video guys. If you did, please don't forget to smash the like button and share this video with as many people as you can. Thank you guys. Bye. Stay safe, stay healthy and keep watching my videos. Dab!